No one noticed when Ramesh pushed his old bicycle into the narrow second-hand shop at the corner of the market. It was early morning, the kind where the sun hasn't fully decided whether to rise or hide, and the streets were quiet except for the distant calls of tea sellers. That bicycle had been with him for nearly 20 years. It carried him to work before sunrise, brought him home after dark, and had listened silently to every worry he never spoke aloud. The seat was torn, the paint chipped, the chain squeaked, but to Ramesh, it was more than metal. It was dignity. It was survival. The shopkeeper looked at the bike, turned it once, and named a price so low it felt like an insult. Ramesh didn't argue. He simply nodded. Because the money, even if small, was enough to buy something far more important than pride. As he folded the cash into his pocket, his hands trembled, not from regret, but from hope. At home, his son Arav sat at the small wooden table, staring at his schoolbooks. Or rather, at the lack of them. Some were borrowed. Others were torn. A few important ones were missing completely. Arav was brilliant, his teacher said so, but brilliance without resources is like a bird without wings. Ramesh had seen that look on his son's face too many times, the hunger to learn mixed with the fear of falling behind. Ramesh worked as a daily laborer. Some days there was work, some days there wasn't. But every day, there was responsibility. Ariv's mother had passed away years ago, and since then, Ramesh had learned to be both father and mother, strength and softness. He never complained. Not when his back ached, not when his stomach stayed half empty, and not even when his bike, his only transport, felt heavier with each passing year. That evening, Ramesh returned home on foot, carrying a bag filled with brand new books. Real books. Clean pages. No torn covers. No missing chapters. Arav looked up, confused. "Where's your bike?" he asked. Ramesh smiled, placing the books on the table. "We'll talk about that later. Look at these first." Ariv's eyes widened as he touched the books, one by one, like they might disappear if he blinked. His hands shook. "These are mine?" Ramesh nodded. "Every single one." For a moment, there was silence. Then Arav looked up again. "But the bike?" Ramesh tried to keep his voice light. "It was just a bike." That night, Arav didn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, listening to his father's slow breathing from the other side of the room. He knew what that bike meant. He knew his father walked miles every day for work now. He knew the sacrifice wasn't small, it was enormous. And something inside Arav changed forever. Days passed. Weeks turned into months. Ramesh walked to work in the heat and rain. Sometimes his feet bled. Sometimes he came home exhausted, collapsing onto the floor. But every time he saw Arav studying, every time he saw him reading under the dim bulb late into the night, the pain felt worth it. Arav started ranking first in his class. Teachers called Ramesh to school, not with complaints, but with praise. "Your son has something special," they said. Ramesh would smile shyly, nodding, never mentioning the bike, never mentioning the walks. Years passed. One day, Arav earned a scholarship to a prestigious college. The letter arrived in a white envelope, and when Ramesh read it, his eyes filled with tears he didn't try to hide. He hugged his son tightly. "This is your hard work," he said. "No," Arav replied softly. "It's yours." College was hard. Arav worked part-time, studied harder, and never wasted a single opportunity. He remembered every step his father took on tired feet. Every sacrifice made in silence. Every dream placed behind his own. After graduation, Arav got a job. A good one. The kind Ramesh never imagined possible. On Arav's first salary day, he told his father to come with him. They walked to the same market. The same corner. The same second-hand shop. Inside stood a brand new motorcycle. Shiny. Strong. Reliable. Arav turned to his father. Do you remember the bike you sold? Ramesh nodded, confused. I never forgot it, Arav said, his voice breaking. And I never forgot why. He handed the keys to his father. Ramesh froze. This is too much, he whispered. Arav shook his head, tears in his eyes. It's not enough. But it's a start. People in the shop watched silently as the old man held the keys, hands trembling just like they had years ago, but this time, not from sacrifice. From love returned. Ramesh hugged his son, and for the first time in his life, he cried openly. Because some sacrifices don't end in loss, they end in legacy.